gonna make for good.
All
this
right,
is gonna
we're
be
live.
good quality.
Good quality paraglidingtalk.com. All right, we're live. Welcome to paraglidingtalk.com. So glad that you're here. We've got a great show lined up tonight. We're going to talk about all things flying. We're going to talk about what stuff to choose when you're picking out your paragliding stuff. Oh, it's going to be a great episode. Let's talk a little bit about sponsors real quick. I'm a little better prepared tonight compared to last week's show. So glad you're here. I don't know what that beeping noise is. I'm going to fix that real quick. Bada boom, bada bing. There we go. Welcome. Couple of sponsors I want to mention right out of the gate. Dreamlifterparamotors.com. Dreamlifterparamotors.com is the website. That is one of our newest sponsors. So stoked about them being a part of Paragliding Talk. If you don't know who that is Harley Milne. Harley, world record holder and just an insane adventure pilot. Such a great guy. Harley Milne's going to be teaching now paramotoring out of Southern California, kind of middle of California. So if you want to get signed up with him for the next season, that's coming up quick. He'll give you a great deal. Tell him you heard about the show from Paragliding. You heard about his training program from Paragliding Talk, and he'll take good care of you. So go check out his website. Again, that is dreamlifterparamotors.com. Great website. He's savvy with that kind of stuff. I should probably have him design my website. So go check that out. Also, another new sponsor, Paraglider. It's not hyphen, it's dash. Paraglider-inspection.myspotify.com. And that's Andrew Fuller's paragliding repair and inspection website. And so he's doing that now, and he's got a great thing going. So if you want to get your stuff taken care of, right now, I don't think there's these long wait times for him because he's just opened up shop recently, and he shared that with us pretty much first. And so if you want to go and get something inspected, maybe you need a trim, or you need a repair, or maybe new risers put on, whatever, all kinds of great things. And he runs SIVs, so you can talk to him about pretty much anything related to paragliding. So that, having said that, also PPG Smoke, go check out their website, ppgsmoke.com, all kinds of great toys to add to your toy collection. And then paramotorprops.com. If you're in the market for buying some new props, maybe you got some new gear and you're thinking, hey, I want to spice up my paramotoring stuff. You want to go to a tri-prop or even a quad prop. There's all kinds of great stuff on their website, paramotorprops.com. So glad you're here. Thank you, Sean, for joining us. Anthony Peregringo just landed just a few minutes ago, and so he's logged on with his phone. So he gets credit for being here. Ripman, glad you're here in the chat. I sent you an invite if you want to jump on. This is your chance to promote your wings. We're going to talk about wings tonight. We're going to talk about choices and what you should be choosing when you go to buy a new wing, and where you're at on the spectrum of flying paragliders. So we'll talk about that. We also want to dive into the conversation about the new, hottest, latest, greatest two-liner C category gliders are out now. And so ozone photon just came out. So everybody's hot. They're all talking about the new stuff that's come out. So two-liner C, for the layman, if you don't know about choosing a paramotor, these newer, I should say, these incredible wings used to be kind of stuck in this category that made it sound like they were a death trap. They're still incredibly dangerous. So don't get confused when you go to buy anything that's called a two-liner. It still wants to rip your face off. The only difference is now it'll rip your face off for a little bit lesser price and than a triple C or comp wing, and it's actually tested a little bit better and a little bit closer to an actual C glider. So we'll talk a little bit about that tonight. I'm stoked about next week's episode. We're going to have a special guest, Jeff Hammond, supposed to come on the show. We'll see, as long as he can get all of his pictures sorted and downloaded. He flew over the Amazon. So we're going to find that's going to be incredible. Those pictures are going to be incredible. You're not going to want to miss that episode. Also, all the previous episodes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Jeff's a great guy, man. We were actually trying to fly this morning. My eyes are burning because I'm so tired. He texted me at 4:30 this morning, and because we were going to try to fly in the snowy mountains that are right outside my house right now and get some good pictures. But the winds were just not coordinating with our plans. And so we opted out, and I'm kind of glad we did, because it was going to be like 20 degrees and then, 20 degrees at altitude. It was 30 degrees this morning when I left the house. And everything was frozen everywhere around. It looked like the tundra. So yeah, it was a good choice, I think, to stay home. And with that, stay home, I went to work. But yeah, so Jeff's going to come on the show. Also, I got some interesting updates. It's quite possible that we're going to get one of the baller Red Bull guys on the show from Europe. So we're going to see. We've got some boots on the ground trying to make that happen. And I'm stoked about that. So you don't want to miss the next few weeks of paraglidingtalk.com. So let's dive into the conversation. The ever longing desire for every person that gets into the sport for more than 6 months is to have the latest, greatest, coolest, or the fastest, the spiciest. You want to fit in, you want to be the cool guy. Now I'm gonna start the show off by saying that I myself bought a wing that was too hot for me too early, and I learned the hard way. So I'll tell you what happened. I'll give you a little background. We went flying at Palomar, which is not too far from where I'm at now. Beautiful. The day was warm. We had these big, sharp, strong thermals, and I hooked into one of the first really strong thermals that I had ever experienced. I'm talking like 1,000 feet per minute type stuff. This thermal had, it had hooks in it. It was like, something was grabbing me out of the sky. Aliens were abducting me at one point because it was so strong.
You had this on video, right?
Oh yeah.
I remember seeing this on a YouTube video of yours, years back. And that was a pretty good whopper. I was like, oh, look at him going up.
Now you got also you got the beginning part of that flying video was me. I was playing around with some smaller thermals that were similar to that one. But what I think happened is I got into the middle of probably multiple big thermals colliding on their journey to cloud base. And those things were very strong. I was flying at the time a 777 glider, and the 777 Rook is a high B glider. So this particular Rook had some sight records that the guy that I bought it off of had set. And just it's an incredible glider. 777 makes some really nice gliders. And as a matter of fact, before I started flying ozone stuff, I wanted to become a 777 guy. Like I was interested in maybe coordinating with them, and I was creating the show and creating the YouTube channel and all that. And I thought it would be cool if I could maybe get them to send me some gliders. I'll make some videos and all that. There's a guy named Yarrow who kind of manages the relationships here in the States. And it just never really materialized. And I don't really have enough subscribers for it to be worthwhile to them. I don't know. The show has a broad enough reach for them to sponsor and send wings at, the tune of $5,000 a piece. So that didn't happen. That never came to fruition. But I really like the 777 gliders. They're incredible. Well, anyways, I'm in the air. It's a little too spicy for me. And I'm just guessing I came out of the thermal at just the wrong time. And my glider folded up on me.
The back end of the thermal.
I'm on the edge. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the back end, maybe the side or whatever, maybe the front even. I don't know. Cause I'm at like $6,000 over Palomar. And within it took 1 minute and I lost 1,000 feet. So the strength of the thermal taking me up was about the same speed. I lost 1,000 feet of altitude. So I'm at 6,000 and within 1 minute, I'm down to 1,000 or I'm down 1,000 feet. And what had happened was I experienced the full spiciness of my wing. So let's talk a little bit about spiciness. When we're talking about a glider being spicy, what we're talking about is its demand for absolute attention. So if you're flying what we call active air, that means you're going to be dealing with some
also known as active piloting, correct?
Yep, that's where I'm going.
Okay.
So when you talk about this spicy wing and some conditions, we'll say, I got a spicy wing, I'm flying in spicy conditions. What we're talking about is dynamics. So the wind, it's now got some kind of a dynamic to it that maybe it's bouncy. It'll pop you up every once in a while and make you feel like your glider is going to disappear on you. It might be that your thermals are sharp. And when I say sharp thermals, that means the air that's rising up might right next to air going up might have air going down. Air displacement is going to create, and they call them jetties, or they call them vortices, or you could even call it shear, where you have two air masses passing by each other and creating some kind of a problem for your paragliding. So you have these different dynamics. Well, then mix in inexperience and then also a wing that is a little bit, we'll just say, not forgiving to the brand new guy. And now we've got a recipe for some chaos. And so good thing I had my GoPro on, and the rest is history. You guys probably all seen the video. It's fun to go back every once in a while and watch it. Still gets, a couple hundred views a day and, comments here and there. It's pretty funny. So my glider was just a little too hot for me. Now, I'll share with you and give you my justification for why I made a decision to buy the glider that I did. And it's interesting to me that I got the blessing to buy the wing from a guy, and I don't want to bust him out just in case people are like, hey, it shouldn't happen. The guy, he did his homework and asked about me. And as a matter of fact, I found out later on that the guy who sold the 777 Rook to this guy actually found out that I was flying it and thought that I was a little bit too green to be flying that glider. It's very fascinating. And, I was not going to stop flying it because, someone disconnected from my relationship was telling me, hey, you should not fly that wing. But by the time that information got back to me, I'd already been very confident and competent under that wing. But nevertheless, that glider was too spicy for me. The reason why I chose it was partly because of availability and then also the price. I couldn't afford to buy a brand new wing at that time. This guy was also trying to step up. He was going to go to a new glider. And so now there's this push pull. I want what he has. He wants to get rid of what he has. And so there was compromise in the transaction in two places. So something you should think about is your compromise when you're thinking about exchanging gear, or here's what happens a lot of times at Torrey Pines. We're talking free flight, and I know this happens with paramotors too, especially at fly-ins. Someone will come up to you and go, yeah, check out this new glider. Oh, what is it? Oh, it's this. Oh, rad. Can I fly it? Yeah, sure. Take it out, spend it, go send it. Okay. So there should be, before you hand off your, ultra spicy, hot pepper wing to someone, you should do a little bit of investigating about who they are, where they're at on the spectrum of timing and how long they've been flying, what their track record is, especially if it's your wing and you don't want them to ruin it. It's not so much that you have to worry about it at the coast. You fly at Torrey Pines, typically you're not having to worry like you're not going to stress out the whole time because it's coastal flying. But if you're going to give your glider to somebody when you're in the mountains, and there's a chance they're going to end up landing in the bushes, then you're going to be careful who you're going to loan your wing out to. Okay, now, so let's segue for a second back to this idea. You've got a situation where he's selling me the glider, and I want the glider. He wants to get rid of it, and I want to buy it. Should he have maybe did a little more digging, or maybe waited and been more patient and say, hey, you know what? I don't think you're ready for this wing yet. I talked to some people, maybe, but I feel like he did his homework, and I felt like I was at the place where I had enough paraglider pilots around me that I could get their information and get their blessing. Now, the main reason why I said, you know what, I'm willing to do this, my instructor thought that he gave me the green light, gave me the thumbs up. Okay. Now I know looking back that I was just a little bit premature to be on that wing. So I should have probably spent a season on an A wing. Okay. So flying on a beginner wing, it's usually a little bit embarrassing for people for some reason. In the beginning, for some reason, people feel like they need to have, like in the mountain biking community. If you show up in the mountain biking community and you've got, an old beat up Huffy, you're the people are going to make fun of you, but it's not the same in paragliding. Okay. And that's a mentality that people try to bring from, whether it's dirt bikes, you bought your dirt bike off Amazon and doesn't even have a name, it was made in Russia or something, whatever. And you might get mocked if you try to take it to the desert, and rightfully so, because you'll probably be breaking down everywhere. But when it comes to paragliding, there's only a few wings that I would refuse to fly and just, I don't think I'm interested in that. And not necessarily for safety reasons, but just because I just don't care to fly those wings or whatever. But fascinating when you're to that place. So let's talk about that, choosing your wing. When you make your conscious decision to choose your wing, very easy solution is to reach out to your instructor first, because he knows where you're at. But we can't be that person that's going to show up on the scene and say, I need to get a super cool wing, a hot, spicy two-liner, because I want to be better. It's not going to make you a better pilot because you put yourself in a position. We know a guy, local guy, he got on a two-liner too early. He's been flying for many years, but the currency wasn't there. And so he didn't spend enough time kiting. A lot of times he would embarrass himself on launch. It would be a blunder many times, 3 or 4 botched launches before he'd get off and then join the group. And he would always do very well once he was in the air, but he didn't have a whole lot of ground handling time and a whole lot of, he just didn't have the goods to be flying that competition wing. And so he kind of learned the hard way, and nobody could tell him, hey, you need to shift it down a notch and maybe go to a C and not be flying around in the D. And eventually he just realized, you know what, I'm flying around scared. This is not enjoyment. There's no enjoyment. I'm embarrassed every time I go to launch. It's not forgiving. When you have collapses on a two-liner, they're typically not very forgiving, and they always end up in lines, depending on what glider you have and depending on your situation. And so when you step into the ultra spicy category, there's a whole bunch of pros and there's a whole bunch of cons. And here's what I recommend. If you're a seasoned pilot with plenty of currency and you're wanting to step it up, maybe you're going to go from a B to a C glider. I'm talking free flight here. So just, I know most everybody's paramotor people in here, but we're talking free flight stuff. And this is going to transition. You'll be able to translate this into your paramotoring stuff. When you choose to go from a B to a C, you should write down the list of pros and cons. There's also something else you can do with your gliders. And I don't know that every glider manufacturer will do this, but most will have a recommendation list. And then also they'll have their findings from their test pilots. So their test pilots will test during, do a certain amount of maneuvers, certain amount of testing with that glider, and then it'll get a rating, but the glider itself will have its kind of characteristics, things that it's known for. And then there's this place, this is, going back, there's a place called Paragliding Forum. And so you could post your questions there, or you can just read all the already posted stuff about whatever glider that you're interested in. And then obviously the easiest thing to do is talk to the locals about what they're flying and what their choices are and why. I can't tell you how much time we spend after we've flown on the ground talking about each other's wings. And we get so in depth in the conversation about what our glider does that we've even come to the conclusion that the glider itself, that individual glider, so I fly an Alpina 4, that particular glider has characteristics that another Alpina 4 may not have. And I know that's hard to wrap your mind around, but I had an Alpina 2 that belonged to Bill Belcourt. And I would really love to have Bill Belcourt. If anybody has his contact information, can get him on the show, that'd be amazing. But Bill Belcourt, he tuned this thing up just a little bit, and that glider is magical. Then I still have it in the garage. It's retired. It just, maybe I could use it for kiting out in the yard, teaching somebody, but I wouldn't fly it anymore unless I was trying to, escape the flying dragons and dinosaurs. But in the decision-making process of choosing to move up in a glider class, there should be a thorough investigation, thorough inspection of what you're about to do, because aviation is not very forgiving. You may have to
I believe you're looking for the word thorough. Thorough. Yeah, not thorough. Thorough.
Well, I'm kind of country, so it's thorough.
Oh, yeah.
You do a thorough job, now. All right?
I'm a little bit rock and roll.
Thorough. Yeah, so it's a good idea. Why don't we spin the wheel and catch all the 630 people?
About what we were talking about on the wings there, and when you're deciding to change wings, something that is kind of important to check out is the test ratings of each glider, of what you're looking at. You want to see where the downsides are. For example, if you're selecting a B wing, what are the things that made it a B wing? What are the things that kept it, where it could have been an A wing, but because of this particular test or the way that this glider handled certain, let's say 45-degree angles, it sucks. Everything else it's great at, but 45-degree angle, you're losing altitude so fast that it does not pass the test. Okay.
It's a really good idea. Let's talk about that right after we spin the wheel.
Okay,
I wrote down a note and we'll come right back to that. I think that's an awesome idea to talk about.
Okay, well, here we go. I'm going to share the screen here, and let me.
Gringo, I'm glad you made it. I was
Here.
telling Sean before the show that the one rule about missing the show is you can miss the show if you're flying. It's the only way you're allowed to.
Had to, San Diego, after a nice, beautiful storm, we've been having a lot of rain, a lot of water.
Yeah.
It was too nice of a day not to.
Was it smooth?
It was actually pretty nice. A couple little bumps, but I was flying Randy's wing, which is a hybrid, I guess, free flight and motor. So I went and did a little ridge soaring and was able to hang out at idle. So that was nice.
Nice.
Okay, I'm gonna cancel this one.
No, go ahead, spin it, man.
It's already spinning. I accidentally clicked the button.
No, that's okay, man. We're doing the thing.
It's an ultra
The
spin.
spin of this wheel, by the way, is brought to you by Calamity Kite Clinic. CalamityKiteClinic.com is the website. If you want to learn how to ground handle better, and you do, you can reach out to Sean on his website and get signed up for one of his courses. The next fly-in that he's going to be at, that's where you're going to learn, and you'll have a great time with that. CalamityKiteClinic.com. Also want to mention our local sponsor, American Allied Drains and Plumbing. If you're in the San Diego area and you're in need of plumbing, American Allied Drains and Plumbing is your company. If you mention Paragliding Talk, you will get a 10% discount on your services. That's 844-777-9055. Walter Priori. Congratulations, winner, chicken dinner.
Cha-ching. Cha-ching.
Congratulations, Walter Priori.
Got to deliver to Australia.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to buy him something off of Amazon and just have them ship it. It'll be cheap as dirt.
He wins enough. If you just save it, you can just afford to fly him back out here and pick it up.
Yeah.
Wow.
Walter Priori. Congratulations, Walter. Winner, chicken dinner.
See, that's how our audience knows that this isn't fixed.
Yeah.
If it was,
he would never win, not once.
He is. I think he is the only one in Australia to wear a Paragliding Talk 200 shirt.
Yep.
Yeah, he's got one. Yeah, so I don't have to send him another one. That's good.
He said pass on it, Robert.
No.
What?
I'm going to send him something nice.
Walter. Yeah, send him something nice.
Walter.
Don't cost me any more money, Walter. I'm sending you something. Don't make me spin again and have to send you something and someone else something. Paraglidingtalk.com. So having that said, thank you for all the Patreon supporters. You guys have been awesome. Thank you for the contributions that you make to the show on the super chatters. You guys are awesome too. And it's funny. We had to make a move, and today the money for the show actually saved my bacon. So it's pretty funny, just a little token, but it was pretty awesome. That you guys leaving?
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
See you, bye.
Do you want to show the baby?
We can.
Look at this.
She's a little grumpy sometimes.
This is my
grandpa
daughter, Sailing. You have to come down here, yeah. And this is my little baby. Yeah.
See, hey.
So, yep, grandpa now. She doesn't really like me. She gets scared of me. Well, I guess she doesn't get scared when you're right here.
No.
You're the baby.
Say what's up. Do you see yourself? Say hi.
She started walking too. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. See ya.
My baby.
Say bye.
Bye. She's like, nope.
She's super tired.
Yeah.
Bye.
She'll fall asleep in the truck.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So let's go back to that conversation about the whys. So there's a few things, and I'm no expert on this, but there's a few things that they test that they want to know about. And Sean, you mentioned one of them, which is your angle of attack and how I guess it's not angle of attack, your angle when you go into a spiral maybe a face down spiral or a partial spiral, or even you can go to the extremes of going into the sat or whatever. There's going to be different reactions with different gliders. On a C or a D glider, you're not going to have the same response as if you're on an A glider. When you're on an A glider, you're going to have to get deep in that brake to make it turn. Its characteristics want to fly. Will Fly donated $5 to the super chat. He said, "Resurgence PPG rocks." Thank you, Will Fly, for that contribution. Appreciate that. When we talk about the different dynamics, so I guess we can talk. The next thing would be about the sea gliders, how these two-liner sea gliders became sea gliders. If you were 1 year ago to ask this manufacturer for this exact wing and say, this wing, we want you to say that this wing, it would be considered a D glider because of one characteristic. They had to put what's called collapse lines on the front of the glider. And we've talked about this a few different ways, a few different times, but it's worth saying again. Collapse lines were designed that during testing, they're able to pull the front of the glider down and collapse the front of the glider. So if you're going to try to do that on a two-liner without collapse lines, very difficult. You can't just grab the A's because the actual span, the front, that we'll call this the nose or the cone of the front of the glider. And if you were to picture the tail being back here, the lines are not right here at the front. The lines are actually way over here. So the front of your glider is far away. So if you pull on the A's and you're trying to get the front of your glider to collapse, it's not going to happen like you think. Now on a four riser, or I guess you could say it's a four liner, on a glider that has four risers, this being our front risers, you can grab the A's and make the front of your glider just collapse at any time you want. Just kind of play with it. I watched, was it Super Del flying around, and he was collapsing one of his gliders, and he was just grabbing the right side of the A's, and while he's flying, bad idea, by the way, he was like 50 feet off the ground, and he's flying around going, making the glider just do weird stuff. You can do that with that type of glider, but on a two-line, you're not going to be able to do that. So they put collapse lines. Okay, so 1 year ago, the same glider that we're looking at, Ozone, Photon, the Air Design Volt 4, I think Flow has a two-liner C now. Soul, we were looking at these up just before the show. Soul LT2, and I think there's a couple more that I'm missing, but these gliders, because of the rule that you don't have to use collapse lines, now they're making these a C glider. But the thing that people need to understand is that it is a two-liner. Realistically, it's still in my opinion, it should be a D. It's a hot, spicy wing, but also at the same time, it's got a little more passive safety than a competition wing or some of the more common two-liners that are out there, like the Ozone has the Xeno, or I think, Enzo is like a comp wing. There's a few other ones. Jin makes the not Bonanza, but the Boom 10 or Boom 12 now. And that's a comp wing too. I guess that's a two-liner, but it's a comp wing. I'm trying to think of what D wing they have. But anyways, there should be some pause before you decide to go. If you're flying a C glider, you should think about why you think you need that extra something. Okay, so now I want to play the devil's advocate. Why I want to step into a two-liner C. Now, today, if you were to ask me today, Oh, Gin Bonanza 3. Thank you, Rip. Um, when we talk about choosing, I'm going to choose because I want this extra performance. There are some people like I would consider myself to kind of be a fair weather pilot, which means when I get off of work, I'm going to go to Blossom. I'm going to try to fly the glass off. I'm not necessarily going to get to fly in all the active air and fly cross country every time I want to. So I'm kind of cornered to just flying in the evenings for most of my flying. However, because of that, I want to be able to eke out the most of the day that I can. So if I'm going to be flying in the evenings, I feel like I've got a decent handle on ground handling and getting my wing up in the air and managing my wing while I'm flying. So when I launch, it's typically a little spicy during the summer, and then it calms down as the evening approaches and whatnot. When you are choosing your glider, and I'm thinking I want to maximize my day because I only have a certain amount of time. So some of you might be thinking, okay, I want to maximize my evening glass off flying. Well, you really don't need a two-liner to do that, but depending on where you're at in your flying career, you may opt to do that.
Well, it's like options.
Measure out the pros and cons.
If you could get your license, drive a Yugo, or you could get your license to drive a Ferrari for maybe an hour if you're lucky. But you're not going to be driving it for an entire day. That's guaranteed. I mean, it's choose your tool wisely. Like the types of flying, for example, Robert. Sometimes slow and floaty is fun. Sometimes you want to active fly, but you want to be able to have that choice of, I could relax and enjoy my flight, give it throttle and not really do anything. Or I could be actively flying this thing, feeling every bump and nudge that's going on in the sky. And it could be potentially stressful because maybe I want to get something to drink and I can't take my hands off the brakes, that it just depends on your flying preference and what you would prefer. But it's good to have options, but you also don't want to pick something that's going to be outside of your skill range and skill level and cause potential injuries, death, or broken gear.
Yeah. So when it gets to the next level, it's not just a simple step up. Your whole flying attitude changes. And when I'm talking about attitude, I'm talking about you may put yourself in a position now where you're going to be flying scared every time. And for me, there is a certain amount of I enjoy my wing communicating to me. Okay, so this is why I choose to fly the light fabric wing. Some people like it because they want to do hike and flies. I have a 4-wheel drive truck, so I don't typically end up hiking very often. I do enjoy a hike and fly every once in a while when it's just a sledder. I'll park at the bottom and hike up and take the sled ride down. But that's not why I chose the wing. I chose the wing because of its feedback. It's constantly communicating with you, constantly telling you what's going on. And that to me, it's like some people want to drink a cup of coffee. You fly that glider, it's energizing, it's exciting because there's something happening all the time. If I'm just boating around all the time and there's no risk and there's just, you run out of the excitement of it. So there's a certain aspect of growing in the sport and coming to I'll give you an example. I told Russman that I was going to step up from my B to a C. And this was when I was going from the 777 Rook to an Alpina 2. And he asked me this question flat out. He says, "Are you taking collapses?" And I was like, "No." And then he was like, "Yeah, go ahead. You should move up." And what he was saying is that my active piloting I was managing the wing to the point now where I was not taking collapses. So I'm making the right inputs based on what information I'm receiving from the glider.
Mhm.
So this is critical. You have to, this goes across the board, paramotoring and paragliding. You have to know what the wing is talking to. You have to know what it's saying and how to respond to those different communications that you're receiving.
Each wing is different too. It doesn't matter whether it's a two-liner or, just a normal paragliding wing or a paramotoring wing.
Yeah.
They all react different. And when you're in the air, if you pay attention and you have several wings or two wings, maybe even three wings, you'll notice with each wing, it has its own set of languages, what the wind's doing, how it's telling you, what you need to pay attention to or not really worry about so much.
It's got its own
Those little
character.
things. Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Yeah. And those little changes in dynamics, it's for me, if I switch wings up, sometimes I'll fly different people's wings, will be at Blossom or whatever. I really prefer to fly other wings in the mountains because that's where I'm always flying. It's hard for me to get excited when I'm at the coast. If I'm at Torrey and I'm like, somebody's like, hey, you want to fly my Boom 12? I'd be like, yeah, that's I would be excited about that. But I mean, that's pretty much, if I was just going to fly a Xeno or something else there, I'd be like, that's cool. But in the mountains, I'd be really excited to do that because there's so much more going on. There's so many more dynamics. So you can thermal up and, cross the valley or whatever. Anyways, so those dynamics, choosing to step up isn't always the answer. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about choosing to step up with paramotoring. A lot of guys want to fly faster or they want to fly farther and get more out of their wing, and they want a more dynamic wing because they've grown bored of their glider. Okay. Now, I learned the hard way that I got a spicy small wing too soon. And now I hate that wing. I'll fly it, I'll bring it out, and I feel like I'm good enough to fly it. I don't think I'm too far off base with being able to get underneath it. But I've botched so many launches. I've blown up props. I've had hard landings and weird situations. And that glider is like, I've just grown to kind of like, if I have a choice, I would fly something else. So a lot of times when I'm flying paramotors, I'm flying with Jeff. Jeff will usually have a wing that he wants me to fly so he can take pictures. And so he'll have something like, here, fly this. So he's given me a couple different opportunities to fly, like Colorado, the Macpara Colorado is a really great wing. So I've flown that a couple different times. If you want to change the dynamics of your wing, it's really fun with paramotors because you just either pull the trimmers all the way in or let them all the way out, or put them in the middle. Play with them and find the different places and find the different settings on there. Obviously, you don't want to get too crazy if there's dynamic winds, but when you mess around with those settings, you're going to see your glider is going to react different ways. I know this is fundamental tonight, guys, but this is really critical, especially for the new guy that's maybe just getting into the sport. These small little insignificant things that we just kind of like, oh yeah, I learned that years ago. You should consider these things. Your changes that you're going to make, and going back to buying a new, so many guys are like, yeah, I'm getting the Photon, man, or I'm going to buy the Volt 4. I want a 2-liner C. Well, why? So ask yourself the question, why? Do you need that? This is a recreational sport, obviously, so we don't have to do it. But also, is it just to keep up with the homies? Is it to, I've heard stories about guys who are like, man, I was in Colombia and, I was flying my A wing and all my friends were flying C wings. They all left me in the dust. Well, that's going to happen. But it can also happen if you're all in the same exact wings. So don't get too hard on your A wing abilities just because you got left in the dust. I can give that A wing to a Ryan Bloom or one of the local guys that are just incredible pilots, and they're going to smoke you even if you were on whatever glider you're on. So I guarantee you the pilot is going to outfly the guy that's on the spicy wing.
Or you run across
about the
guys
line.
like me, or you run across guys like me that will make that slow and bloaty glider fly slower just to make you test your skills on how good you are about circling and staying in one area and being able to cover ground like you would in a hotter wing.
It's funny you say that. I think in the very beginning, I was flying an Ozone Vibe. That was my first wing. And I think it's just a low B. I don't think it's an A wing, but I think it was a very low B. Well, the Ozone Vibe could thermal on a dime. And so I could out thermal a lot of people, but it was because I was flying so slow and dangerously slow, probably.
Now, something for people that don't know, since we are covering the fundamentals, and what constitutes a high B from a low B, or a high C from a low C, or so on and so forth. What constitutes what's high and what constitutes what's low for those that don't know?
Yeah, so you've got different characteristics. So, for example, they're going to want to see how it reacts when it takes a collapse, right? Does your glider automatically pop back out and maintain a heading? Does your glider want to go into a spiral and recover by itself if the pilot goes unconscious? An A wing is going to pop right out, boom, and you're going to be just gliding. If you went hands off, you would just glide straight to the ground, and you'd probably be a non-event unless you went into power lines or something. When it goes to a B, you might get locked into a spiral if you pulled into the right position. Your collapse your glider may cravat and get stuck, and you would have to know that you have to pull a stabilo line or do some kind of dramatic maneuver to get that glider to pop back out. And so the different characteristics during testing will determine what glider is an A, B, C, D, etc. But those tests, and maybe we need to try to have some more test pilots on the show and get down to the nitty gritty on some of that stuff. But this is all stuff you can find, separate from the show.
You can even look up EN test ratings and test results for the specific wing, so you can see where that particular wing has issues, or it has been noticed that it takes a little bit more time for this or a little bit more time for that, or if you need to give something or not.
Yeah.
Very important information, guys. You need to know that stuff so you know that glider and understand what to expect from it, because there's nothing like getting surprised and you're up there and you got a pucker factor of 10 and you're going, and you don't know what to do and you're freezing up, and it just makes things so much more complicated.
Yeah. And I thought when I lost my glider over Palomar, I thought, I'm fine and I'll know what to do. And I've got enough time. Nope. Once I was G'd up and there was that wing was flinging me around like I was in the circus, it was different. The wing didn't respond the way I thought it did. And this input that I thought this normally works, now it was doing the opposite to what I wanted. I want to mention Nebraska PPG. Josh Bowden runs a school in Nebraska. So if you're trying to get signed up and want to learn how to paramotor, and doesn't matter where you are in the country, but you can sign up and go and fly at his school. You can learn all kinds of great things. And he's a wealth of knowledge. He's got just deep history in the sport. And also he's a really good instructor and a great guy. Nebraska PPG. He's got a link in the description if you want to get a hold of him and you want to sign up for his class. Also, the show is brought to you by Lone Star Paramotor. LoneStarParamotor.com is the website. Ron Turan runs a school there in Texas, and he has a great thing going there. Go sign up with him. And if you're just kind of not sure, you can follow him on Instagram. They have some great posts that pop up on Instagram every once in a while. Just Really cool stuff. Also want to mention Resurgence PPG. So Resurgence PPG is a 501c3, and they support our men and women of uniform. So a lot of times guys come back from battle, PTSD has got them hooked on prescription medication, or, they've got night terrors or problems, and there's an epidemic of suicide in our military. And this Resurgence PPG has done just an amazing thing to kind of pull guys out of the trenches and give them a focus on life and the excitement that you can have. And so paramotoring helped Todd Scandrett, and it made a difference for him. And he thought, you know what, I'm going to try to make this happen for other people. And so he did. So resurgenceppg.com. Again, it's tax deductible donation, so you can claim that on your taxes. And rather than give it to big government, you can do something that's going to support guys that put their life on the line for our freedoms. And so resurgenceppg.com. Where do we find the info on the gliders? Good question, Rick Wetzel. I got another question in the chat too. Walter Priori question, why do some wings carry a bigger load weight yet same glider? Great question. More fabric, Walter. So they measured in square meters. To answer Rick's question, when you go, maybe we can just go to a, let's do it right here. Let's see if we can we'll go to ozone gliders. Let's just open this up here. Oh, look, they're already advertising the Photon. I'm going to do a screen share here real quick before we run out of time. Gosh, this show flew by, man. Only got 7 minutes until 7. We're going to go, we don't have to optimize.
Covering good topics here, Robert. That's what happens.
Yeah, it's good stuff tonight. Good stuff tonight at paraglidingtalk.com. Okay, let me see if I can do this. Bada boom, bada bing. So the Photon is based on the Xeno 2, incredibly stable throughout speed ranges in real XC conditions. Look, they got little winglets.
Yeah.
The Photon has winglets. I wonder why they did that. Pretty cool. I can't wait to try one out. And I know people are ordering them now. Okay, let's look at the characteristics. How can we find? Now, I will tell you this. One place that a lot of people go is, what's his name? Dust of the Universe. This guy will do tests and inspections. Let's go products here. Let's go look at, I think we should be able to find it in manuals. Maybe not.
A lot of times, you can do a EN certification test rating on said wing. Generally, a Google search or a Bing search will bring up the actual information from the website of the designer. And it will mention, and I believe off of some of the manuals online as well, usually at the very back, it states where you can go to get the certification information that you're looking for.
Something that, you just don't typically like to read directions, but it's interesting here. Some of the things that they talk about, like for example, cravats. If the tip of your wing gets stuck in the lines, this is called a cravat. This is a sea glider, obviously, but there's going to be different ways to get a cravat out mid-flight. And so they're going to tell you based on their testing, based on how they created their wing, to make your decision on how you're going to get it out. Look what it's going to tell you. This can make your glider go into a spiral, which is difficult to control. The first solution is to get out of this situation is stabilize the glider in a normal flight, i.e. get control of your direction and then use strong, deep pumps of the brake on the cravated side. When doing so, it's important to lean away from the cravat Otherwise, you risk spinning or deepening the spiral. The aim is to empty the air out of the wingtip, but without spinning. Correctly done, this action will clear the cravat quickly and is the most effective and efficient way. You can also try pulling on the stabilo line. I mentioned that to free small, stubborn wingtip cravats. Whichever method you use, be careful with any brake inputs as you may stall the opposing or the opposite wing. If it is a very large cravat, the above options have not worked, then a full stall is the next. I'm just thinking right now how funny it would be to make a video of having a big cravat and trying to read this while you're in the air.
You should totally do that. Make sure you have a couple of reserves with you, though.
Yeah. Remember, if the rotation is accelerated and you're unable to control it, throw your reserve parachute immediately whilst you'll still have enough altitude. So pretty cool. They even tell you deep stall and parachutal stall, what happens if you end up flying into the rain. They've just got really interesting information. But I don't think this is the place where you're going to find the testing certification information. You're probably going to need to do a little more digging. I'm just guessing. Risers. Oh, that's impressive. Line diagram. That's cool. You might need a line diagram so you can know how to change if you accidentally screw up a line. Let's see here. Yeah, but anyways, do your research, talk to your instructor, dig into this stuff. It's interesting to me. The longer I'm in the sport, the more people I talk to they're very passionate about everything. They'll inspect the aspect ratio. They're going to look at your glide ratio. They're going to want to know how many cells does the glider have? How many risers? How many lines? What does the brake cascade look like? What does the nose of what features does the glider have? Flying characteristic. I mean, it's just endless. And you're talking about all these things on a regular basis when you're in the free flying community, especially here. Dig in. There's plenty of information, plenty of stuff out there. It's much easier now than it was even 15 years ago to find this information and do your homework. Dig deep before you decide you're going to step up. Two-liner C's sound great. I'm a little bit nervous. I was talking to Tony Boyer on the phone while I was at work driving between jobs or something. And we were talking about the ozone photon is here. There are going to be people that are going to see that C rating and go, oh, a C glider. I can now fly a C glider because it's safe. There's going to be, I just anticipate that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to get shocked that they're going to get on this wing and it is going to be way more dynamic than what they were flying before, way more dramatic when things go wrong. And something I didn't mention in choosing your glider, weight range. Really, Walter kind of got this going. Your weight range this is critically important. Some gliders like to fly at different weight ranges. So although the sticker might say this glider flies between 85 and 95 kgs. So if you're in that weight range, and almost all of them are kgs, and you got to do some homework to turn it to American pounds. But when you're in that range, when you're in that place, that doesn't necessarily mean that is going to be the most optimal place in your glider. So do your research, talk to your instructor. Don't just go out and buy a glider just because, and especially don't make the mistake I did and go out and try to buy it on your own without doing your homework and off of eBay. So anyways, great show, guys. Super stoked. Next episode will be a great one. Appreciate all the feedback and everybody hanging out with us tonight. Such an amazing group of people. I'm always excited about Paragliding Talk on Thursday nights. If you want to support the show on Patreon, please do. Patreon link is in the description, and go check out some of the previous episodes. Guarantee you're going to learn something that's going to help you to be a better pilot and safer, and probably something that's going to help you to avoid disaster at some point. So paraglidingtalk.com is the website. Come back and see us next week. And thanks again, Anthony Peregringo, moderation, Sean Napsker, all the guys with the wrench next to the name. You guys are awesome. And we're going to go to the after show. If you want to join us, we'll put a link in the descriptions or in the link in the chat. I don't know if the guys already did. I lost my access to the chat somehow. Let me see here.
I got it.
Great. There it is. Yeah. So see you on the next one. If I don't see you in the air,